Welcome to the Service MVP podcast. And my name is Joe Crisara, America's Service Coach. And I'm here today with Cassandra Webster from Consumer Fusion. Cassandra, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hi there, Joe. I'm doing great. Thank you. Excited to be here. I appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Cassandra's going to talk today about a subject that's sorely needed. And I think sometimes in the sea of people who try to help with the management reviews and how to get reviews, there's a lost part of it, which is the three pillars of online reputation management, which is what the subject of today's meeting is going to be. How do we look at there's three pillars that Cassandra and Consumer Fusion have identified as things that contractors and service professionals need to look at to evaluate the way they manage the online reputation of their company. So Cassandra, let's get started. Tell me, how did you ever get involved with this business of turning bad reviews into good ones, or try to erase bad reviews and things like that? Tell us about that. How did you ever get involved with that?
Yes, let's dive in. So I actually got my start in home services kind of by accident. I started with a digital marketing company selling home services, businesses like SEO, PPC, websites, talking about online reputation management. And so at first I was really scared because I didn't have that background in the trades. So I thought, okay, these business owners, I'm like in my 20s at that point, I'm a woman of color. I'm like, these business owners are going to see me as a fraud and that I don't know what I'm doing. But I immediately fell in love with the trades because it was exactly the opposite. They were welcoming, they were willing to educate me. And I just felt this kinship because I feel like business owners are very open to sharing their stories. They're hardworking. They care about taking care of their families and their techs. And that really resonated with me because I'm like oldest of three, raised by a single mom, saw her working multiple jobs. I was a young mom, single mom at 18. And I didn't necessarily have the pedigree on paper for some of the roles I was in. So I always prided myself on being the hardest working person in the room. So when I got in the trades and I was hearing these business owners share their stories, they were willing to teach me because I was like a sponge. Like even outside of digital marketing, I was like, I want to hear about your recruitment struggles and I want to hear about how are you training your techs? And I think they were like, who is this girl over here that's asking us all these questions about our businesses? But they were willing to teach me. And I had some really great mentors. So I was in that space. I left home services for a little bit because I wanted to see what else was out there. So I did a couple things, went to a big corporate tech company and realized pretty quickly that I just wasn't a fit for that industry. Like I had a great manager, I had a great team, but big corporate America, I just didn't feel like I could be my authentic self. So I was like, okay, where was I happy? Where was I able to just be me? And that's when I was in digital marketing, when I was in home services. So I was like, all right, how can I get back to home services? And it was just a matter of timing where the opportunity came along for me to join Consumer Fusion. And they brought me in to head up the home services division over here. And I fell in love with the culture. We have this incredible product where we're helping businesses enhance their reputation, drive more potential customers through them, through their online reputation management. And so I've been super happy. I've been here for the past almost 5 months now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's a great field because, the online reputation management it's an extension of the brand. It's really what it means is that the brand is promising something to consumers, and it is the brand executing that promise by getting better reviews and making sure that the reviews, the way the consumers aspect, what they see the company like, is matching up with the vision that the company has. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So let's go into the three pillars of online reputation management, if you don't mind. And
Yeah.
what pillar number one? What would you like to cover first on pillar number one,
So
please?
pillar number one, I think there'd be a focus on review generation because when it comes to having a solid online reputation management strategy, you can't just focus on one thing. You need to have a full solid strategy. And when it comes to review generation, it's all about having a steady stream of happy customers that are leaving reviews. That's super important because not only are your potential customers looking at your reviews, I mean, it is what they're using. It's your word of mouth engine, those positive reviews. It's determining whether or not that potential customer is going to call you. Because in fact, 90% of consumers, they're looking at reviews. They want to see what our customers saying about you before they even pick up the phone and decide to book that job with you.
Very
So
important.
it really is a critical piece of the puzzle. And sometimes the frequency of those reviews gets overlooked because I have business owners that tell me like, oh, I'm at a 4.8 or I'm at a 4.9 right now at Google, so I don't need to improve. But then I look
Mm,
at them online and I'm like, your last review was 6 months ago or 8 months ago or 9 months ago. If that's your business, you're doing yourself a disservice because
mm.
Google is also looking very closely at your reviews. They're only looking for new relevant content. So if you're not getting a consistent positive reviews, you're not giving Google anything new to consider when they're looking at what businesses they should prioritize in the local search. And you're not giving your potential customers anything new to consider either. So a couple
Yeah,
of
I think on that, Cassandra, is that putting a point up there. As a consumer, if I look and say a business and say, "Wow, they haven't had a review for 6 months," to me that is a bad review. Even it's like an unspoken bad review. It's like what nobody's reviewed it in 6 months. That must mean something's wrong over there, or it must be asleep at the wheel or whatever. So it kind of puts a shadow of doubt in my head if there's not a current review that's up there. Does that make sense, sir? Am I on the right track?
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. No, you're in the right track because the data even shows if there's a review that's older than a month old, I believe it's 70% of consumers are not going to see those reviews as relevant because they, like you
Mhm.
said, they want to see those reviews that are a little bit more frequent. And when it comes to, sometimes I get this question, well, fine, how do I generate more positive reviews?
Okay, good.
Some
Yeah.
of the tips that I like to share is definitely make sure that you are asking for that follow up. You might have just had the happiest customer in the world, but if you're not asking for that review, more than likely they're not going to leave it, even though they just had a really great experience.
Yeah. It's a critical part. We do a thing called Happy Call 2.0. A critical element is to ask how many stars would you have given us? And if the answer is 5 stars, well, can I send you a link? If I sent you a link, what would happen then? And truthfully, I'll tell you what, Cassandra, we're a product of your product, that Consumer Fusion. We in December we had 30 reviews starting in December 1st. Now here we are in middle of January. I think we're 165 reviews since we've done it because we just now make it part of the process. I think you just kind of embed it into the process. Does that make sense, Cassandra?
Yes, no, that's exactly chef's kiss, Joe. I love to hear it. And congrats on upping the number that quickly. But yes, the best performing businesses that I work with, they make it a whole culture shift where they get their techs involved. They train them while they're in the home. Like you mentioned, they have a process in place. That way, when that tech is in the home, they're much more likely because they have that training, because they're potentially incentivized that they want to say, hey, if I gave you that 5-star experience, would you mind leaving me a review and mentioning my name? It's a whole culture shift and it benefits the business in the long run.
That's really good. I think that's it. And just creating the process. That's it. And I think what people don't realize without a current review, it's in essence, no current review equals a bad review, I would say. And like you said, that's a great statistic. 70% of the people lose confidence at that point that this is even relevant. These reviews are so old, I can't even have any faith in it. Wow. Well, pillar number one is certainly powerful. Let's move on to pillar number two, Cassandra. What is that one?
So pillar number 2 is how are you responding to reviews? Because I speak with business owners where sometimes they're only responding to the negative reviews
Hmm.
and you're leaving a missed opportunity there because another metric that Google is looking at when they're prioritizing businesses in local search is they're looking at how is the business owner responding? So it's not only Google, it's potential customers where they want to see a business owner that is active, engaged with their customer base.
Mm.
So responding to that review goes a long way. And also a little trick that I like to share that can help with the local SEO efforts is using keywords that are related to your business and your response. So namely, it's things like your business name,
Mm.
what's the service that you provided, and where did you provide that service? So that could look for you, Joe. That could look like, hey, thank you for choosing Service MVP for the sales summit coaching in
Mm.
Culver City. We appreciate your business.
Mm.
Something like that helps you
I
become
love
the
that. I love it. I just took notes on that one. Because I'm going to tell you a secret. One of my secret indulgences is responding myself to every one of the reviews. I do a magic moment, and I got to add that piece in there because I just say thanks for the effort of doing the training, but I could put in there like keywords like thanks for taking the effort to do your HVAC service technician training, which would be a keyword that would show up for a search. Wow, you just enhanced. And truthfully, the reviews have helped, and we have been the increase in lead count for us has been significant, even in the 1.5 months we've been doing it. But I'm going to take note of that. The keyword when you respond. So this is a chance for you to kind of market yourself for free, whether it's a good review or a bad review, I guess you could say it. Let's make sure we are specific about the kind of trade we do. And hey, thanks for calling us for your heating no heat call. And I guess that would be something like that, or having no hot water call would be, because probably somebody would search what are search terms people would use and embed that into your response. That's Cassandra. That's worth the price of this whole podcast.
Yes, winner. All right.
Value. That's value right there that people can do on their own. That's amazing. So that's great.
I love it. Yeah. And that's just a quick little tweak and like you said, Joe, it helps when it comes to you're using those keywords that potential customers aren't looking for. But then also if you have potential customers that are perusing your reviews, you're able to answer the question about what kind of services you provide before they've even gone to your website. They're able to see, wow, okay, that they do HVAC services and they service my city. I get that question answered, and I just saw all your positive reviews without me even clicking to go to your website.
That is amazing. And what better way to get an entry to my company than to read a happy customer is the first thing you see, right? That would be better than my website would be to say a happy customer on Google review or Facebook review or whatnot. That's brilliant. I love that one. And then let's go on to pillar number 3. I'm not sure if hopefully everybody's keeping track of these because these are really good golden nuggets that Cassandra's, even though she's a newbie to the trades, she's definitely helping all of us create value. Cassandra, what's number 3, pillar number 3?
So number 3 is dealing with negative reviews. Negative reviews can be a huge headache for business owners that are trying to have a positive online reputation. And there's 2 different types of negative reviews. There's legitimate negative reviews, which in the course of having a business, negative reviews are going to happen. There might be a mistake, someone has an issue, and there's an opportunity for you to respond in a calm, apologetic, empathetic way. I know I already spoke about review responses, but this is specific to negative reviews, is that you want to express a desire to resolve the situation quickly, and just be professional. In my time that I've been doing this, I've seen some doozies of like all caps and explicatives, and I get it. It's emotional because when you're putting your heart and your soul and all your hard work into your business and you get a review from a customer where they're lying, of course there's going to be that emotional reaction, but you have to check that emotion at the door and be able to put that to the side and respond in a professional manner. I can't say that enough because then it devalues that negative review to your other potential customers that might be taking a look at how you're handling negative reviews.
Yeah, I think it's a chance for you to show up with character to show how the company responds to these things. So listen, I think everybody knows that nobody's perfect, right?
Right.
And so it is an indicator of the kind of service I'm going to get. Like when I teach, I'm not sure if it's the right way. You can evaluate me. I always say, first of all, thank people that they took the time and effort to give you this feedback, right? That's something I always say first, and then tell them that, hey, we definitely we're disappointed that we fell short. If it's a legitimate review, right?
Right.
Those are the ones that I think most of the forward-thinking contractors appreciate. Truthfully, somebody who is giving you negative feedback, because it kind of is a wake-up call. The bell's ringing to get your team back on track. If it's legitimate, the ones that get in people's craw though is the ex-employee or something like that, where it's not even a legitimate customer. It's just somebody who says stuff like that. I'm not sure if you want to talk more about, if you could help us talk more about that. That's got to be, because I don't hear, well, go email Google or whatever and tell them this stuff. I mean, it's I don't want to say the word, but it's the B word.
Yes. Yeah, and that's
For
putting
having
it
to go back.
nicely, saying the B word.
It's like the B word to go back and I'm going to talk to Google about this. They're not going to respond to anything, and it's so frustrating because I mean I can't hear the pain that you probably see with contractors, like almost like tears in their eyes. I can't believe we work so hard and we get some dude who probably a competitor or something like that. Tell us a little bit more about that part of it. Listen, I think legitimate ones. You thank people. You tell them we're gonna make this. We're gonna call you. We're gonna make sure we're disappointed as well, and this that we fell short on value or your schedule or whatever it is that we did wrong. But we're gonna get back on track. I'm gonna call you right away, and we're gonna I'll return my call, and I'll definitely get back on track with this right away. I think the consumers all say, now that's somebody I can trust that I can deal with. Something goes wrong, I know. In a way, it's demonstrating what do we do it's probably more of a real marketing thing than anything. And I've had people tell other contractors that I've trained that I'm going to hire you because I saw the way you responded to a bad review. I've actually heard that before, and you probably have too, right?
Oh, yes, I have too. And me, even as a consumer, if I look at the negative reviews, most consumers, they look through at the negative reviews first. And if I see a business owner that is not very nice or they're accusatory or they're very highly defensive, for me as a potential customer, I look at that response and think, oof, that business owner sounds like a jerk. So I'm going to go on to the next one. Just based off of that, just being on.
I get you.
Yes.
Well, let's
So
talk
that's
about
one
those.
thing.
Let's,
Yeah.
let's talk about those unnerving reviews, though. The ones that are like, "Who the heck is this guy? He's not even a. There's no way he's a customer, or he. It looks like a competitor. It looks like an ex-employee. It looks like somebody who's trying to intentionally bring ill will." I think we all feel a sense of violation, and that does get emotional. I think that does get our. I think it's like for a normal person, it doesn't just like the life goes on. But when you're a business owner and you put everything into this, your life stops on the day you get one of those. Does it make sense there? And it's pain.
Oh yeah. This is your baby that you have worked on and worked tirelessly on. So when you get a review where it's a situation like that, where it's not legitimate, it boils your blood because you're like, what in the F is going on? They weren't even a customer. So let's talk about that because legitimate reviews are one thing, but when it's an illegitimate review, that's potentially turning away potential customers when that's the sort of trash that shouldn't even be up there in the first place. And a lot of consumers, when they're signing up for a Google or a Yelp or a Facebook, they don't realize there's a set of terms and conditions that they're signing off on. It's kind of like you have the Apple phone, right? It's like those iOS updates. I don't know about you. I have never read them once. I just agree.
Yeah.
Most consumers are like that. But the thing is, when it comes to reviews, if they're leaving a review that's in violation of the terms and conditions of the review site, that review is grounds for it, first of all, to be reported and then potentially to be removed. But let's talk about what it means to be an illegitimate review. So a couple of examples. One I see a lot in home services is somebody that didn't have a direct experience with you. So the way that might look is, oh, my mom used to service MVP and it was a terrible experience. Or I was out of town while my wife had service MVP come and she was not happy with the treatment. See that all the time, right? Situations like that, that reviewer did not have the direct experience with you. So therefore, it's in violation of the terms.
I get it. Yeah, that is one. That is like the daughter of the senior citizen. Like they came to my mom's house and took advantage of my mom or something like that, right?
Yeah, we see it all the time. Or you even mentioned one, ex or current employees trying to slander the business name. That's a no-no. Violates the terms and conditions. Also, another one that I see a lot in home services too is a picture of the truck and somebody saying like, oh, this truck cut me off on the freeway, or they were parked in front of my mailbox for half the day, which those ones I'm like, if that really happened, wouldn't you have picked up the phone and called instead of taking a picture while you're driving? But, I don't know. Things like that we see very often. Also using derogatory language, using any sort of personal information. There's all these instances that are in violation of the terms and conditions. And it's something that as a business owner, they can go in and flag that review and attempt to go through the review site to get it removed themselves. Or they can partner with a company like Consumer Fusion. That's what we're experts in. We are experts in going in, removing illegitimate negative reviews. And it's not something we're new at. We've been doing it for over 10 years now.
Yeah, I think it's something that is so important. I think it needs to be done by a professional, truthfully, because I would say our instinct, even when it comes to things like HR or things like this is sort of in that category of the contractor or the service professional. The impulse is, to say something that seems legitimate with a normal conversation, but it's not something that you should in a professional environment like this. You're probably going to say something the wrong way, right? Or you might
Right.
over threaten. You come off like, yeah, this person, the way they're talking, I could see why they get bad reviews or whatever type of thing. So you might even offend, even the request to get it down is so emotional or negative, it could create a negative possibility. So, I mean, Cassandra, that's really great. And so, is that process? Is that how lengthy is that process? Could you explain like how long is it? How long does it take? How much effort goes in on your end to help a contractor get that done? Like I know it's not easy to do this business you're doing. Tell us a little bit about how much time and effort goes in on your team's part on that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes a lot of time. I mean, thankfully at Consumer Fusion, we have an incredible team here. Our average tenure is, I think, like 8 years. So we got a back end team that has been doing this for a long time. And it is a process. I mean, depending on the review site, typically the terms and conditions for a lot of these review sites is pretty similar, but the process can be dramatically different. So take Google, for instance. With Google, it's more than just flagging the review. That's kind of just the first step. What
Mm-hmm.
we actually go and do is we create a dispute case on the business owner's behalf. And then our
Mm.
team is working with Google moderators, which a lot of times they have them in India. So we're dealing with the moderators, whether it be on the phone, chat, email, to go through that dispute process. Google doesn't give us any sort of follow up. So we're having to check in. And then ultimately, it's up to Google to determine whether or not they're going to approve that request. And it usually takes multiple attempts. So Google gives you an unlimited number of attempts. On average, for us to get an illegitimate negative review taken down, it takes 3 to 5 attempts, but we're relentless. I think our record here has been 28 attempts over a 9-month period, and we got it taken down. It doesn't usually take that long, but it really is case by case and up to the review site, whether or not they're going to take it on that first go around, or do we got to keep hammering them until we get it taken.
Well, two things I'm hearing here are every website like Yelp, Google, Facebook, whatever it is, they all have terms and conditions that are unique. And I think, and remember, you're just an HVAC guy or a plumber or electrician. For you to remember, okay, let me go into my catalog of terms and conditions and make sure I respond to this the right way. It's just not going to happen, right? So that's just one thing right there. So having a professional to understand what the unique terms and conditions are. And number two, as you mentioned, the moderators of Google or Yelp or whatever, they most likely can see the difference between an amateur asking me to do this or a professional who's doing it. And they probably see a certain rhythm of the way the professional would respond to this and say, hey, I'm up against, I'm hearing from a professional service on this that I better make sure I act on this one first, because these people are going to be more legitimately going down a road that's going to follow those terms and conditions. I better make sure that to keep my job as the moderator that I'm adhering to those terms and conditions, right? And
Yeah.
so that is to me that's the difference, right, between an amateur and a professional. I'm not saying you couldn't go through it and dig in, but hey, let me put it this way: while you're trying to figure out the terms and conditions and then writing that response, what are you going to do? Use Chat GPT or something, or the watered down response you're going to get from there. And then what? You're going to fire it off to the thing and then schedule an appointment to keep following up for over and over again. Meanwhile, what's your current business? Is it review management or is it HVAC or plumbing, right? That's how much money you think is being lost on owners digging into this as opposed to
Yeah.
working normal business? Tell us
Time
about
is
that.
money. Time is money. Like you said, having to go through and figure out, hey, what category should I choose? How should I write this? Oops, I chose the wrong category. It got rejected. Let me go in and do it again. Who has time for that? And even if you do have time for that, isn't it better spent doing something else that's going to help grow the business or other priorities that you want to focus on versus having to follow up with the review site?
One thing I can tell you is every minute I spend with Cassandra Webster has always been a moment of joy, and I've always had nothing but I always learn something every time I spend even a few minutes with you. I learn something new. Cassandra, I just want to say thank you for this podcast and this great information, and I really think. I definitely would recommend everybody use this service if you're trying to keep because you just never know when it comes up. And when it does come up, it can be awful. And I want to make sure that you are supported. Hey, my advice would be don't wait for a bad review to get a service like this that can help you with it. Because you don't just help with bad reviews. It's reputation management. It's the whole thing, right? And you help with every part of it. Is that correct?
Yeah, we also help with review generation. So keeping on building that solid, positive foundation, review responses, because we really believe that you can't just focus on one aspect of online reputation management. You got to make a focus on all areas, because if you're not putting focus and your competitor down the road is putting in more effort and focus, they're going to be taking away customers and market share from you. So we want to help businesses go from good to great.
And to me, if you're a company that is trying to grow and then try to be a quality company, this part of it is the number one piece of I think branding is a big part of it, number one. But I'd say number two, let's make sure this is a kind of, I wasn't sure if you call this grassroots or not, but I would say it's not really it's not a paid thing you're doing. It's a what do you call it? It's something that's generated from the ground up. That's why I call it the grassroots. I think you got clients giving you great reviews, and there's no better form. There's no higher honor than when a client tells the general public that your company's great, and no greater pain than when you get the opposite. And I'm definitely glad that people like you are out there, Cassandra. So how can people learn about Consumer Fusion so they can enroll your services before they get a bad review? That's what I'd like to see, is people get this done before they get a bad review. How do we engage in your services?
Thank you so much, Joe. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity for having me on here. If you want to get a hold of me, and I'd love to learn, I just love to educate and learn about business owners. Even if there's no next steps for us, I'm more than happy to do an audit and see where are those areas of opportunity for the business. So you can reach me via email. I'm at Cassandra@consumerfusion.com. Or I'm really active on LinkedIn and Facebook. So you can just look me up, Cassandra Webster, and shoot me a message that way.
Good. So one more time on that, how do we get a hold of you?
So email is Cassandra@consumerfusion.com, or you can just look up Cassandra Webster on Facebook or LinkedIn, and you can shoot me a message that way too.
Great. If you need help, you can also come to me, and I'll make sure I pass her name along. I've got her personal contact, and I can just forward that to anybody who needs that. Highly recommend the service, and definitely, I think we've all learned something today. Cassandra, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Joe. I appreciate you too. You have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right, take care.